exactly where I was on a very tragic day in history. I remember I was a sophomore in high school. I remember I went to class, and in class, the teacher didn't have anything prepared for class. All he did was he pulled out the TV, and he put it on, and everybody took a seat, and we watched the TV. And on the TV was the news, and on the news was this pile of smoke, was a pile of fire. And that was all we saw, and we were wondering what's going on, why are we just watching this? And then the camera starts to zoom out a little bit, and we see, oh, the fire and the smoke's coming from a building. That's crazy. And then as the camera zooms out a little bit more, we realize, okay, the fire and the smoke's coming from two buildings, two very, very large buildings. This is kind of crazy. This is tragic what's going on. And this day was tragic because this was the day of September 11th, 2001, otherwise known as 9/11. This was a day that is marked in infamy. This is a day that we all remember. Does anybody remember exactly where they were on this day? Who knows? Yeah, see, everybody. Everybody knows exactly what was going on this day. You guys can all relate to me really quickly. How about this? Does anybody remember exactly where they were on January 12th, 2003? Anybody know that day? No? No. See, none of you guys. But for me, I know this day easily. I know this day really well because for me, this day was marked in history for me. This day was marked in infamy for me. I remember exactly what I was doing. I remember every little detail to the fullest. It's so easy for me to remember. But before I give you the date of January 12th, 2003, let me give you the day before. I remember that I was trying to convince my mom to let me to go stay the night at a friend's house. Now, the whole thing about letting me stay the night at a friend's house was kind of crazy at this point because this was a Saturday night. And my mom never let me stay the night at a friend's house on Saturday night. But luckily, she did for some reason. But she made a bargain with me. She said, Logan, if you want to stay the night at your friend's house on Saturday night, you have to go to church with me the next morning, and your friend has to go with. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, I didn't go to church. I hated church. My mom always dragged me to church. I did not like going to church. It was horrible for me to go to church. In fact, sometimes she dragged us to a black church, and I'm not black, so as you can tell, it was awkward. It was weird. Church for me was just, it wasn't me. It didn't feel right, and I didn't like it. So I agreed. I said, okay, I'd go to church. Me and my friend would both be there the next morning. But that night we had different plans. We did not just have a normal night of, yeah, let's just go hang out and let's just spend the night and play video games. We decided to party instead. On that night, we had way too many shots. We smoked a whole lot of marijuana. And we just got blazed. We got high. We drank so much that I don't even remember that night. I had no idea where we were, what we did, exactly what was going on. All I remember was the next morning we woke up and we thought, oh, we gotta go to church. And rubbing the eyes for a while. And we just had to go to church. That was all I remember. And I remember thinking, I have this massive pounding headache. I have a hangover. I don't want to go to church, but if I don't, my mom's gonna kill me. So I have to be there. And I didn't believe in Jesus at the time, so it's not like I would have gone to heaven anyways. So I made this choice, like, I gotta go to church. Well, on the way, my headache is just killing me, and so I'm like, oh, I gotta do something to get rid of this headache. So we made the quick choice of, let's just smoke a joint. Maybe that'll help the thing. So I'm on my way to church, smoking a joint with a hangover, massive headache. Can't tell what's going on in front of me because everything's now becoming fuzzy and hazy. And I get to church, go into church, and don't know exactly. It's like, okay, music's playing, whatever. We just go find our seats. We sit in this normal spot where we always sit because my mom has dragged us there for the past while. So we know where to sit. So we're like, okay, she'll probably be here. My mom is typically the late comer, the late person that would always get to church. She wasn't there when we got there, so we thought, okay, she'll just show up after the music's done, and everybody's mingling, talking, hanging out. And so we wait for her to come in. She never shows up. I was mad. She, never even came to church. We're just looking back, like, where is she? Is she coming through the door? No. Realize about halfway through, she's not here, and she's not coming. And so I'm like, well, I kept my end of the deal. Like, this sucks. I'm the good one here. Like, I was so mad. And I kept thinking about this. I kept thinking, like, I did my part of the deal. Why isn't she here? I don't even like coming to church. This is the last place I want to be. How come I have to be here and she's not here? And so I just kept on like thinking this over and over and over in my head, and I just realized that what was happening was I started getting really mad. I started getting really angry at the fact that she didn't come, but I did, and that I'm in the last place I want to be at this point in time. And so I just sat there like bent over with my head between my knees and just kind of like crouching down, and I was just so mad. I didn't want to think about anything, so I just kept on fueling these thoughts of anger. I just kept on thinking about it over and over, like I'm so mad. Well, just to give you a little bit of a point about why I was mad is because me and my mom never had a good relationship growing up. We never, we weren't the type of family that would cuddle like up on the couch and watch a movie. We weren't the type of family that would sit around the fire and roast s'mores. We weren't the type of family that would go out on bicycle rides or go to the park and she wouldn't push me on the swing. Me and my mom were the type of family that would fight and argue with each other, that would throw fists, that would hit each other, and whenever I'd come home drunk or high, she would smell it on my breath, and she knew exactly what I was doing, and she would yell at me. This was the type of family that I had, and so when she didn't come to church, a place that she asked me to go, and when I got mad, it was the only way that I knew how to respond. It was because that was all I knew. It wasn't like I knew how to respond out of, that's okay, I'll see her later today, and we'll be fine. So, moving on to a little bit different point. What happened there was when I was sitting down with my head crouched down, I didn't listen to a single thing that the pastor was saying. But he started getting to the end of his message. He started going towards the end, and I realized something's different. Like, he's saying something, I don't know what it is. I don't even remember what he said. The high was just so much there that I don't remember what he said at all. But something was pulling on me. Something was dragging me. It was just feeling like, oh, I'm not right. I'm hurting inside. Like, I can't stop thinking about what I'm thinking about. I gotta stop thinking about this hurt, this pain, this sorrow that I'm feeling, and this anger towards my mom. It's hurting me way too much. And I felt this pull. I felt this sensation just pulling me towards something, and I didn't know what it was. And then the pastor started speaking about something different, and I really still wasn't paying attention at that point what it was. But when he said at the end, if you want to give your life to Jesus, I instinctively stood up, and I remember looking at the orange pews, and they were really ugly, and I remember looking at my feet, just walking down the aisle so slowly, and I made my way up to the front, to the stage where he was, and he said, if you want to give your life to Jesus, then just kneel here at the stage. And for some reason I did that, and I remember at that point, he prayed a prayer, and I was repeating his prayer, but I remember I cried. I remember that I was weeping, and when I was weeping, I felt like that high, all that fuzziness that was in front of me was just pouring out of my tears. I felt like I could see. I felt like I had clarity, and I knew that that was not from the high, because the high obviously gives you a different sensation altogether, a bit of a numbness, and now all of a sudden I was feeling something. I was feeling something different, a love that I had never felt before. I just told you that my mom and I had this anger, this fighting mentality, but now all of a sudden I was feeling love. I was feeling something different inside of me. I felt God pulling me. I felt God wanting to show his love to me. Do any of you know any Bible verses? Anything? I mean, how about do you guys hear anything outside Bible? No? How about John 3:16? Anybody heard of John 3:16? Anybody? Okay, I could see a couple of hands going up. I know that maybe you guys have at least heard of John 3:16. Maybe can't quote it, but I want to just tell you a little bit about the Bible and what John 3:16 says. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life."